Factors that are stealing your joy. Have you ever wondered why happiness feels so elusive? Why moments of joy seem to slip through your fingers like sand? You achieve a goal you've been working toward for months, yet the satisfaction evaporates almost instantly. You buy something you've wanted for ages, but the excitement fades by the time you've set it up. You take that vacation you've been dreaming about, only to spend half of it worrying about work or scrolling mindlessly through your phone. What if I told you that your capacity for joy isn't diminishing because there's something wrong with you, but because there are invisible forces actively working against your happiness every single day? Forces so subtle yet powerful that most of us don't even recognize their influence until our joy has been hollowed out from the inside. Today, we're going to shine a light on these joy thieves, the factors silently stealing your capacity for genuine happiness and fulfillment. By the end of our time together, you'll not only recognize these thieves when they approach, but you'll have the tools to reclaim the joy that is rightfully yours. The first and perhaps most relentless joy thief is what I call perpetual inadequacy. We live in a culture that profits from your dissatisfaction. Think about it, whole industries depend on you feeling not quite good enough, not quite successful enough, not quite attractive enough, not quite organized enough. Advertising doesn't create desire, creates lack. It carves out emptiness and then offers to fill it for a price. Every day, you're exposed to thousands of carefully crafted messages designed to make you feel incomplete. Your social media feeds are algorithmically curated to show you lives that seem better than yours. Bodies more perfect than yours, relationships more romantic than yours, and achievements more impressive than yours. What you're not told is that much of what you're comparing yourself to isn't even real. It's filtered, edited, curated, and often completely fabricated. This perpetual inadequacy steals your joy by keeping you focused on what you lack rather than what you have. It creates an insatiable hunger that no achievement or acquisition can satisfy. Because the moment you reach one standard, another one appears on the horizon, always just out of reach. The second joy thief operates in plain sight. The glorification of busyness. When was the last time you answered "How are you?" with anything other than busy or tired? In our culture, busyness has become a status symbol, sign of importance and worth. We wear our exhaustion like a badge of honor, as if constantly running on empty somehow proves our value. But genuine joy requires space. It requires presence. It requires the capacity to fully inhabit your experiences rather than rushing through them to get to the next item on your list. When every minute is scheduled, when productivity is your religion, when rest feels like failure, joy becomes impossible. It's like trying to appreciate a beautiful landscape while sprinting past it. This chronic busyness disconnects you from the very experiences that generate joy: deep connection with others, immersion in meaningful activities, appreciation of beauty, and the simple pleasure of being rather than doing. You can't experience the richness of life when you're skimming the surface at high speed. The third factor stealing your joy is what psychologists call hedonic adaptation, our remarkable ability to quickly return to a baseline level of happiness despite positive or negative changes in our circumstances. In simple terms, we get used to things both good and bad. The new car, the promotion, the bigger house, they all provide a temporary happiness boost before fading into the background of your life. This adaptation served our ancestors well. It kept them striving rather than becoming complacent with their current conditions. But in our abundance-filled modern world, it creates a happiness treadmill where we're constantly chasing the next thing. It's the next achievement, the next purchase, never finding lasting satisfaction in what we already have. This joy thief is particularly dangerous because it operates inside your own psychology. It's not external like advertising or cultural pressure, it's built into your neurological wiring. And unless you consciously counteract it, it will continue driving you toward accumulation rather than appreciation. The fourth factor robbing you of joy is digital distraction. The average person checks their phone 96 times per day. That's once every 10 minutes. Each glance fragments your attention, pulls you out of the present moment, and often exposes you to stress-inducing content, whether it's work emails, news headlines, or social comparison triggers. These devices we carry everywhere were explicitly designed to be addictive. They deliver variable rewards like slot machines in our pockets, creating dopamine loops that keep us coming back for more. But while they're masterful at delivering short-term pleasure hits, they actively work against the conditions necessary for genuine joy: deep focus, presence, connection with others, and internal quiet. Digital overwhelm doesn't just fragment your attention, it fragments your very sense of self. It creates a state where you're never fully anywhere, never fully engaged in anything. You're having dinner with family while mentally composing emails. You're in a beautiful natural setting, but thinking about capturing the perfect photo rather than experiencing the moment. You're constantly half present, and joy requires wholeness. The fifth joy thief is one we rarely talk about: the expectation of constant happiness itself. Our culture has sold us the idea that happiness should be our default state, that if we're not feeling good most of the time, something is wrong with our lives or wrong with us. This creates a painful secondary suffering where we feel bad about feeling bad, anxious about our anxiety, disappointed in our disappointment. But joy isn't the absence of difficult emotions, it's the capacity to fully experience the entire spectrum of human feeling. When we reject our sadness, anger, or fear as failures rather than essential parts of a meaningful life, we create internal division. We exhaust ourselves trying to present as happier than we feel, both to others and to ourselves. This constant pressure to feel good actually makes genuine joy more elusive. It's like trying to force yourself to fall asleep. Effort itself prevents the very thing you're seeking. Joy often arrives not when we're desperately chasing it, but when we're fully engaged in something meaningful, connected to others, or simply present to our experience without judgment. The sixth and perhaps most fundamental joy thief is disconnection from ourselves, from others, and from something larger than ourselves. Humans evolved as social creatures with a deep need for belonging, meaning, and transcendence. Yet modern life has systematically eroded these connections. We move frequently, often living far from family. We work long hours, leaving little time for community involvement. Many traditional sources of meaning and belonging, religious communities, civic organizations, extended family networks, have declined. And our individualistic culture celebrates self-sufficiency, while often dismissing interdependence as weakness. This disconnection creates an existential emptiness that no amount of achievement, entertainment, or consumption can fill. When we lack the sense that our lives matter to others, that we're part of something meaningful beyond ourselves, that we're truly known and accepted by a community, joy becomes a temporary visitor rather than a frequent companion. Now, having identified these joy thieves, the question becomes, how do we reclaim our capacity for genuine, sustainable happiness? How do we build lives rich in meaning, connection, and fulfillment, rather than just fleeting pleasures and endless striving? First, we must develop awareness of these forces when they appear in our lives. Notice when advertising or social media triggers feelings of inadequacy. Pay attention to when busyness becomes a way of avoiding rather than enhancing your life. Recognize when you're chasing the next thing rather than appreciating what you have. Observe how digital devices fragment your attention and disconnect you from the present moment. This awareness itself is powerful. It creates a space between stimulus and response where you can choose differently. You can ask yourself, is this comparison serving me? Is this busyness necessary or habitual? Am I chasing this goal because it truly matters to me, or because I think it will finally make me happy? Am I reaching for my phone out of genuine need or automatic habit? Second, we must cultivate presence as a deliberate practice. Joy lives in the now, not in regrets about the past or anxieties about the future. This doesn't mean adopting a rigorous meditation practice. It means developing the habit of fully showing up for your own life, moment by moment. When you're with loved ones, be with them fully, devices away, attention engaged. When you're in nature, use all your senses to absorb the experience rather than viewing it through a screen. When you're engaged in work you care about, give it your complete focus rather than fragmenting your attention. Presence is a muscle that strengthens with use. Third, we must shift from a consumption mindset to a contribution mindset. Much of our culture orients us toward consuming products, content, experiences in the pursuit of happiness. But research consistently shows that meaning and fulfillment come more reliably from giving than taking, from creating than consuming, from serving than being served. This doesn't require grand gestures. It might mean listening deeply to a friend instead of waiting to speak. It might mean creating something with our art, music, a garden, or a well-crafted email with full attention and care. It might mean finding small ways to make others' lives better through your unique gifts. When you orient toward contribution, you tap into a deeper well of satisfaction than any purchase can provide. Fourth, we must deliberately cultivate gratitude as an antidote to both inadequacy and hedonic adaptation. Our brains evolved with a negativity bias. We're wired to notice problems, threats, and lacks more readily than gifts, opportunities, and abundance. This made sense for survival, but creates a skewed perception of reality that diminishes joy. Gratitude practices, whether through journaling, contemplative practices, or simply pausing throughout the day to notice what's going well, recalibrate this bias. They don't deny life's genuine challenges, but they ensure that those challenges don't eclipse the gifts that are also present. Gratitude transforms the same external circumstances into sources of joy rather than dissatisfaction. Fifth, we must create boundaries around digital technology that put it in service to our well-being rather than allowing it to control our attention and mood. This might mean designated device-free times or spaces in your home. It might mean removing social media apps from your phone so you access them intentionally rather than habitually. It might mean turning off notifications that create a sense of perpetual urgency. The goal isn't digital abstinence, but digital intentionality. It's using these powerful tools when they genuinely enhance your life, rather than allowing them to become the background radiation of your existence. It's constantly pulling your attention away from the life unfolding right in front of you. Sixth, we must reconnect with ourselves through practices that foster self-knowledge and self-compassion. With others, through deep listening and vulnerability. And with something larger than ourselves, whether through spiritual practices, engagement with nature, creative pursuits, or service to causes we care about. These connections don't just happen automatically in modern life. They require intention and effort. But they create the foundation for a joy that isn't dependent on external circumstances or achievements. They remind us that we are both incredibly small in the grand scheme of things, which puts our problems in perspective, and also deeply connected to everything and everyone around us. Finally, we must embrace the full spectrum of human emotion without judgment. Joy isn't the absence of difficult feelings, it's the capacity to experience all of life with openness and presence. When we stop fighting against our natural emotional rhythms, when we allow ourselves to feel sad when we're sad, anxious when we're anxious, angry when we're angry without adding layers of self-criticism, we create internal conditions where joy can emerge naturally rather than being forced. This integration of our full emotional experience doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice of gradually expanding our capacity to be with whatever arises in our experience with compassion rather than resistance. But it leads to a deeper, more sustainable happiness than the fragile positivity that depends on constantly feeling good. As we conclude, remember that reclaiming your joy isn't about adding more to your life, more achievements, more possessions, more experiences. It's about removing the obstacles that block your natural capacity for wonder, connection, and aliveness. It's about creating space for joy to emerge on its own terms, rather than trying to manufacture it through external means. The joy thieves, we've identified perpetual inadequacy, chronic busyness, hedonic adaptation, digital distraction, happiness, pressure, and disconnection are powerful forces in modern life. But they aren't invincible. With awareness and intention, you can recognize them when they appear and make different choices that align with what truly matters to you. Your capacity for joy isn't diminished, it's just been buried under layers of cultural conditioning, habitual patterns, and misplaced attention. As you gently remove these layers, you'll rediscover a natural happiness that doesn't depend on everything going your way, or on achieving some future state of perfection. This joy is your birthright. It's available in this very moment. Not as something to be chased, but as something to be revealed through your willingness to be fully present to your one precious life. The journey of reclaiming it may not always be easy, but it is the most important work you will ever do, because in the end, a life rich in meaning, connection, and genuine fulfillment is the only true measure of success. So I invite you, starting today, to notice what's stealing your joy and to take one small step toward reclaiming it. Your future self will thank you for the courage to choose depth over distraction, presence over performance, an authentic fulfillment over endless acquisition. The joy you seek has been within you all along, waiting patiently for you to create the conditions where it can flourish.